There's a lot of end-time prophecies were given so we can recognize the dramatic changes in people, weather, climate, government, and even in religious beliefs. All of these things will change so much that it would be very obvious that Jesus' return is near. These are a few end-time prophecies that are unfolding right before us, so it's important to pay attention in the world and know what's going on. And you can recognize these signs. With COVID-19's recent events about new variants and no end in sight, God is preparing us for something more to come in these times. We know the world is in turmoil and chaos, but we shouldn't fear anything because all these things have to come to pass. Will you ignore these signs, the warnings, in disbelief, or will you answer God's call in these days of end? God's purpose is to use us in our weakness and in our imperfections for His own will, for a bigger purpose beyond ourselves. We have a choice to trust in Him and endure everything we go through in life, or we can work against Him and refuse because it's, too hard, it's not what I want, I'll get around to it, or it's just not the right time or circumstance, or even say, I'm not good, I'm just not good enough, I'm not worthy, in other words. In Romans 8:28, verses 28 through 30, reads, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. For those God foreknew and predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, that they might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those called predestined He also called, those He called He also justified, and those He justified He also glorified." Some people won't answer God's call, and some won't even know what the signs are and what the warnings are, and take things lightly, disbelieve in the changes and major events as anything to do. They don't believe it's nothing to do with the end times. Just, I guess, crazy coincidental events. Some will be scared and fear God, so they won't answer His call. Some people don't feel like they are good enough, or believe their sins shouldn't be forgiven. Others really just doubt themselves. But I would like to help you so that you can see for yourself that God sees in you the good, what you're capable of. And I hope that this will give you a new perspective about getting excited for God instead of fearing Him and thinking you can't do it. In Ephesians 2:10 it reads, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So, see, in advance, like He knew about it before we were even thinking we were going to be chosen or choose to do those things for Him. He already has His plan worked out, and it's up to us whether we go along or fight it. It's pretty awesome of God. We have potential to do great things for God, but we also have a choice too. You are enough and you can redeem yourself. If you feel like you fall short, you can try again and learn and grow from your mistakes and sins. You are made to be more than enough. You were created to be everything you are by His design, by His will. Jeremiah was one of the several prophets who didn't think he was good enough to be chosen as a prophet from God. Jeremiah 1:7-10 reads, "But the Lord said to me, do not say, I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you to, and whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord." That's a good point to really soak in for a second. When He says, I'm with you, God is always there. He's always just waiting for us to ask Him for help or just ask Him to show the way. Instead of getting in our own way and stumbling and struggling all down the road, why do we have to do all that? And just turn to God. He has the plan set forth. Don't be resistant to that. Be open to it. Let Him reign and rule in your life. Because Jeremiah thought he was too young, too inexperienced. No one would listen to him. He's not anybody of position of power. He doubted himself, but God said, no, I think I know exactly how I made you. I know you're enough. You can do this. You have a purpose to shine for me. But the question is, will he? Will we? Do we shine for God? Or do we just continue on thinking we're not inadequate enough in God's eyes, even though he created us? He's our creator. I think that's pretty insulting to tell somebody who makes a masterpiece that I think you might have it wrong, you know, especially when that masterpiece is being built by God. I mean, that's a big deal. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he created everything, all the universe, anything you could think of, it's his. So will you accept the challenge? Will you let yourself be used for the greater purpose? Jeremiah faithfully trusted God and was obedient and did what God asked him to do. It wasn't easy, but he did it with God's help and guidance, just like God promised. It's the end times, so just think about it and take it seriously. If it's hard, honestly pray to him. Let him help you because he loves you. Let others who love you help you and encourage you as well. You're not alone. Other examples of prophets God also prepared were Noah and David. Faithfully trusting him is an essential and important in order to prove and show him where your heart is. He did the same thing with Noah and with David. He warned them, gave them signs, and then gave them the free will to choose and listen to him, faithfully be obedient to him, or ignore him and reject him. By faith, Noah, being warned by God about things he had not yet seen, in reverence prepared an ark for the salvation of his household, by which condemned the world and became an heir on the righteousness which is according to faith. He chose Noah, and Noah chose to faithfully trust God and was obedient to him, and his family were saved from the floods. When we talk about David and Goliath, we often start with Goliath challenging the Israelites, or with coming to the camp. But that's not where the story really begins. Before David faced Goliath, God prepared him when he was just a shepherd. He was faced with a bear and a lion, all in preparation for when he had to go up against Goliath. David was a lonely shepherd boy out in the hills, given undesirable task of tending to sheep. But rather than sulk or daydream of bigger or better things in his life, David performed his duties to the best of his abilities. He was faithful in his vocation as a shepherd. Little did he know that his run-ins with the bears and the lions were God's way of preparing him for much, much more. Not a sling, but in faith. And here's something very important to notice. Notice how David was prepared for Goliath. The text doesn't mention shepherding as a chance to hone in his sling skills. Instead, it's overcoming the wild beast led David to him to know more about God and have stronger faith in him as a deliverer. That opens the door wide open in ways that God can mold and equip us. God can use a job experience to show us the truth, and that we can use it in parenting, we can use it in our financial state, our faithfulness and just in our faithfulness, period. And it's to prepare our hearts to make us disciples. Life experience helps us gain knowledge about things that can help us with other aspects in our lives. These difficult times, this pandemic, the division in households, workplaces, school, government, society, as difficult and frustrating as it may be, God is also preparing for us His will. We have to choose to follow God or follow the world, and think about this in depth. Don't be too quick to follow the world, because it will truly do nothing for you in the end. It's not beneficial in any way to be selfish, so don't be deceived by it. The world, that's Satan's main goal, to deceive us all, lead us astray down the wrong path to a road that leads basically nowhere. Pay attention to these current events and know that these things are here and have to come to pass. There are so many end-time prophecies revealed to us in the Bible by Jesus Christ Himself. So I think it is important that we study His Word and His teachings and let Him use us for His purpose, His love, His works, and to show us exactly where we stand. I pray for everyone going through hard times right now. You're not alone. You're loved and cared for, and we can help each other in the meantime before Jesus returns. We have each other. God is preparing for us more to come. God is preparing for us more to come and answer his call. So take his warnings and signs very serious. God only warns us of all these things out of the complete love in his heart for his children. He asks us to see and pay attention to the signs closely, not to be one of those people that are out there with signs, it's the end of the world, No, it's so that we can prepare his will. It's a happy time to go home with your Father. If you ever feel alone in this world, you don't have to, even while you're on this world. Before he comes back, we can be and have a relationship with God. We also have each other. That's why he encourages us to fellowship with like-minded people that love him too, and love each other as a family. Essentially, that's what heaven's going to be. It's going to be a kingdom of a family, one unit, one way for things to work, and that's only in unison. If you're ever feeling down or alone, just pray to God, and then find somebody you trust and have a good talk with them. Somebody that's going to uplift you and encourage you, because this world, it'll tear you apart and leave you to fend for yourself. That's what true being alone is truly like, is to follow the world and be left by yourself. It cares for nobody, no one. It's destruction and deceit. That's the most important thing, is deceit. Watch out for it. And on the next video, I'm going to be talking about the Antichrist and those events also. It's pretty much the next chapter of what's to come, or is already close to being here. I pray that God's with you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and God bless.